Good morning, students. So today's class we are going to study about electromagnetic waves, a new chapter, and from this chapter we will be having a maximum of 3 marks in your board examination, and in the competitive part of examination, especially in JEE main or in the NEET examination, repeatedly they are asking the questions. Representation of electromagnetic waves or simple problems they will be asking in the competitive part of examination. Now coming to this chapter, what we are going to study means, first we will study about what are electromagnetic waves and how these electromagnetic waves will be generated. That means what are the sources of electromagnetic waves and nature of electromagnetic waves. In the nature of electromagnetic waves, we will discuss how these electromagnetic waves will be differing from the waves that we have studied in the first year part. That means about the mechanical waves like the sound waves or the waves produced in the strings. And finally, we will study about the electromagnetic spectrum. So finally, what we are going to study about in this chapter, we are going to study about the electromagnetic spectrum and how the spectrum will be classified. All those things we are going to study in this class. So now first coming to this electromagnetic wave theory. What is an electromagnetic wave? If you want to understand, we have to understand the electromagnetic wave theory. This electromagnetic wave theory is proposed by whom? Maxwell is the one who has proposed this electromagnetic wave theory. Clerk Maxwell is a scientist who has proposed the electromagnetic wave theory. And what is the basis for this electromagnetic wave theory? We will study first. Electromagnetic wave theory. So regarding the study of optics, we are having different theories of light, and the acceptable theories what we are having are 4 in number. And what are those 4 acceptable theories regarding the light means? First one is Newton's corpuscular theory, second one is Huygens wave theory, third one is Maxwell's electromagnetic theory, and the last one is Max Planck quantum theory. Those theories in detail we will discuss in next coming chapters. First we will study about the Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. This Maxwell's electromagnetic theory is proposed by Clerk Maxwell, who has proposed this electromagnetic wave theory. This electromagnetic wave theory is proposed by Clerk Maxwell, and this is the basis for understanding the electromagnetic waves. And here Maxwell has unified electricity, magnetism and optics. So the unification of electricity, magnetism and optics is done by whom? Maxwell. So Maxwell has unified which 3 topics? 1 is electricity, 2 is magnetism and 3 is optics. All 3 are unified by Maxwell and it is named as electromagnetic wave theory, and or else simply we can call it as electromagnetism. And coming to this electromagnetic wave theory, first we have to recollect the things what we have studied in our previous chapters. So in the previous chapters we have studied that when a current is passing through a wire, around this current carrying wire or around this moving charges, there will be a magnetic field. So that means a moving charge is responsible for producing the magnetic field. Who is responsible for producing the magnetic field? A moving charge is responsible for producing the magnetic field. Yes or no? And we also studied that from the Faraday's laws of induction, we have studied that. From which laws of induction? Faraday's laws of induction. Faraday's laws of induction, we have studied that whenever there is a change in magnetic flux linked with the coil, then there is an induced EMF. Yes or no? So according to Faraday's laws, what we studied, when the flux linked with that means the magnetic flux linked with the coil is getting changed, we are producing the EMF, and in turn we are also producing the current. That means from the changing magnetic field we are producing the electric current. Changing magnetic field or the time varying magnetic field. Changing magnetic field in the sense the time varying magnetic field. Changing magnetic field is responsible for what generation of the electric current if the circuit is a closed circuit or if the coil is a closed coil. Changing magnetic field or the time varying magnetic field or time varying magnetic field is responsible for what? Responsible for current. responsible for current. So here current is producing the magnetic field, and here the changing kind of magnetic field is producing the current. If it is so, if time varying magnetic field is able to produce a current, can the time varying electric field is responsible for producing the magnetic field is the question. And the answer for this question is yes. If the time varying magnetic field is producing the electric current, then why can't the time varying electric field can produce the magnetic field? Here there is a magnetic field produced because of the moving charges. But here this is not the question, because already we have studied that moving charges are producing the magnetic field. Here the question is, if the time varying magnetic field is generating the electric current, can the time varying electric field is able to produce the magnetic field? And that question is answered by Maxwell. If time varying magnetic field is producing the electric current, then the time varying electric field should produce the magnetic field. And this answer was given by Maxwell, and he has generated a theory called electromagnetic wave theory. In this electromagnetic wave theory, he has developed four important equations called as Maxwell's electromagnetic equations, and those four equations along with the Lorentz magnetic force formula will be successful in explaining the unification of electricity, magnetism and optics part. So which three theories are unified? Electricity, magnetism, and the third one is optics. These three are unified, and it is called as electromagnetism. Electromagnetic wave, the theory is said to be electromagnetic wave theory. Electromagnetic wave theory. And this unification is done by whom? Clerk Maxwell has unified these three topics as a single topic. And now in this one, what are the equations developed by him means there are four important equations, and those equations developed by Maxwell are called as Maxwell's electrodynamic equations, and those equations along with the Lorentz magnetic force formula are successful in explaining all these three topics. Now what are those four equations we have to study here? I will tell you those four equations developed by Maxwell, which are well known as Maxwell's electromagnetic equations. In the previous chapters, we have studied the Gauss theorem in electrostatics, Gauss theorem in magnetism, and Ampere's circuit law we have studied, and we also studied the Faraday's laws of induction. All these four equations we will be calling them as Maxwell's electrodynamic equations. So what are those equations? I will write first. First equation is Gauss theorem in electrostatics. Gauss theorem in electrostatics. Gauss theorem in electrostatics. Electrostatics. So what is this Gauss theorem in electrostatics? The flux is equal to, the electric flux is equal to, I can say 1 by epsilon naught times the charge inside the Gaussian surface, or more clearly I can write it like this. This can be written as closed surface integral of electric field. Closed surface integral of electric field is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the charge inside the Gaussian surface. This is what we studied in the electrostatics, the Gauss theorem in electrostatics. This is the first Maxwell's equation. Second one is Gauss theorem in magnetism. Gauss theorem in magnetism. This also we have studied, and what the Gauss theorem in magnetism says, closed surface integral of magnetic field is always equal to, closed surface integral of magnetic field is always equal to what? 0. Why? Because I have told you that the closed surface integral of magnetic field is always equal to 0. What is the reason behind this? The reason for this one is magnetic monopoles never exist. That is the reason why the closed surface integral of magnetic field is equal to 0. This is called as Gauss theorem in magnetism. And we have studied Faraday's laws of induction. And in Faraday's laws of induction, according to Faraday's second law, we know that the EMF induced is equal to minus d phi by dt. That means negative rate of change of magnetic flux. Yes or no? This is what we have studied. So, we can also write in a different format. How we can write this, I will tell you here. The Ampere's law in Faraday's laws of induction I can say, and Ampere's law also we can say. Faraday's laws of induction. Faraday's law of induction. Faraday law of induction. How to write this Faraday law of induction? So, here this can be written as closed line integral of, here it is surface integral, but here it is line integral. The closed line integral of electric field, is equal to d phi by dt or d phi b by dt. What is this phi b stands for? Phi b stands for change of phi b stands for magnetic flux. So, here according to this, what is this? I can say E is nothing but, already we have studied that electric field and electric potential, how they are related. Electric field is equal to minus dou V by dou R. Here V refers to the voltage, that voltage is replaced with the EMF. So, according to this one, V is equal to integral part of this. Therefore, I can write closed surface line integral of electric field is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux. This is called as Faraday's law of induction in another form. Either you can take like this or this can be modified like this. How we are able to modify this one? As I know that E is equal to minus d phi b by dt, rate of change of magnetic flux, SR. And we also know that electric intensity E is equal to minus dV by dr, dou V by dou R. Otherwise, if in vector form I can write like this. So, here EMF can also be replaced with the potential term V, potential difference. Now, from this one, how I can write this V? V is equal to, bring this to this side. Then E bar dV is equal to, bring this to this side, then minus E bar dot dou R bar. So, from this one, V is nothing but, V is obtained by integrating this term. Therefore, minus of integral of E bar dot dr bar. Here R bar represents the distance case. Therefore, I can take it as line integral. So, taking this into consideration, if we equate these two, minus will go off, and finally we will be remain with the equation closed line integral. Here this refers to the length, therefore it is closed line integral. Here it refers to the area, therefore it is referred to the surface integral. So, here it is closed surface integral, but here it is closed line integral. Closed line integral of electric field is equal to rate of change of magnetic flux. This is called as Faraday's law of induction. In the similar way, if you go with the last equation, which is very important in this chapter, the last equation is Ampere's law or Ampere's circuital law, Ampere's law or Ampere's circuital law. So, here it is line integral of electric field, the next one is line integral of magnetic field. The closed line integral of magnetic field is equal to mu naught into I. Ampere's law, closed line integral of magnetic field is equal to mu naught into I. What is this I refers to here? I refers to the current inside the Amperean loop. So, while you are using this Ampere's law in order to find out the magnetic field at a given point, there is an inconsistency while you are using this Ampere's law. Why that inconsistency is happening was explained successfully by Maxwell. So, that means there is a limitation for the Ampere law, or there is a limitation for the law as proposed by Ampere, and that limitation was understood well by Maxwell, and in the place of current he has introduced an additional current called as displacement current. So, in this chapter, in order to understand this electromagnetic waves, first we have to understand what means the displacement current, which was called by Maxwell. And what is displacement current, we will study now. So, is this law a complete law? Means no, this is not an exact law as proposed by Ampere. According to Ampere, the closed line integral of magnetic field is equal to mu naught into the current inside the Amperian loop. But when you are trying to use this formula while you are solving the problems, in order to calculate the magnetic field, we are getting different answers when you are using the different kind of loops. So, in order to correct that inconsistency, Maxwell has introduced an additional current term called as displacement current. So, the displacement current is the one which is very important for understanding of this electromagnetism. So, first I will tell you about the displacement current. So, it is not the complete law, and now we have to go with the Maxwell's law or Maxwell's Ampere's law. What is that Maxwell's Ampere's law? Means closed line integral of B bar is equal to mu naught into I total I need to take. What is this total? I will tell you in the next part. So, I total, is it clear? That is called Maxwell's Ampere's law. The displacement current term we have to understand first. What is meant by displacement current? Displacement current. One of the most important definition they will be asking in the board examination. They will ask you to write what is meant by displacement current, or write the expression for displacement current. Write the expression for displacement current they will be asking, or the definition for displacement current they will be asking. So, in order to understand the displacement current, first we have to understand where there is an inconsistency while we are applying the Ampere's law. So, we already studied that we are using the Ampere's law in order to calculate the magnetic field at a given place, yes or no. So, what are the sources of magnetic field? So, sources of magnetic field is nothing but either the moving charges or the changing electric field that is varying with respect to time, that I will tell you in this case. How the changing electric field is responsible for producing the magnetic field, we will discuss it here. So, previously we know that a moving charge or a current which is passing through a conducting wire is responsible for magnetic field. But now we are going to learn there is another term which is responsible for the magnetic field, and that term is nothing but the varying kind of or the time varying kind of electric field is also responsible for producing the magnetic field, that we will understand while we are learning about this displacement current. So, where the inconsistency happened while we are calculating the magnetic field by using the Ampere circuit law. For understanding this, I will take a simple example with a capacitive circuit. Let us consider there is a capacitor which is connected to a, this is a parallel plate capacitor which is connected to a variable kind of battery, like this I have connected it. Let us consider it is connected to a variable battery. So, when the EMF across the battery is varying, then what happens? The current in the capacitor is also getting changed, or a time varying kind of current we are considering. So, the current in this one I will take it as current is a function of time. It is not a steady current, but it is a function of time I am taking. Now, only I will concentrate on this part of the capacitor. So, if I take this part of the capacitor, this is the positive plate of the capacitor and this is the negative plate of the capacitor. Let me choose it as positive plate and this as negative plate. This is a point outside the capacitor, whereas this is a point inside the capacitor. And we know that capacitor is a device which is used to produce dash kind of electric field, a uniform kind of electric field, yes or no, provided if the current is steady current. But here the current is it steady? No, the current is varying. Therefore, the electric field is also getting changed. But we will be having an electric field which is directed from positive plate to the negative plate. So, this is how an electric field is there from positive plate to the negative plate. This is the electric field which is a function of time. Why it is a function of time means here current is a function of time. Therefore, electric field is also varying with respect to the time, as the charge on the capacitor is going to be changing with respect to time. Now, I will choose a point here outside the capacitor. So, what I have chosen? I have chosen a point outside the capacitor and I want to calculate the electric field at this point. This is a point under consideration and I want to calculate the magnetic field I want to calculate, not the electric field at this point. In order to calculate the electric field at this point, I have to choose an Amperian loop. Let me choose an Amperian loop which we have studied in the previous chapter. Let me choose a circular Amperian loop like this, such that the point is there on the Amperian loop. Let R be the radius of this Amperian loop. So this is the Amperian loop whose plane is perpendicular to the wire and passing through its, the wire is passing through the center of the loop. So now the current is passing in this way. Current is passing in this way, and this current wire is perpendicular to the circular loop and it is passing through its center. Now if we choose here, what is the magnetic field at this point is the question. B at this point is the question. Now, how to find it? We can go with the Ampere's law. According to Ampere's law, what I can say? According to Ampere's law, closed line integral of magnetic field is equal to mu naught into I inside. What is I inside? Refers to current inside the Amperian loop. Here the Amperian loop is a circular loop and whose radius is R. The Amperian loop is the plane of the Amperian loop is perpendicular to this wire and the wire is passing through the center of the loop. Now, as this is the wire is symmetrical to every point here, the magnetic field strength here, here, everywhere on the perimeter of this loop must and should be same. Therefore, B is constant and the magnetic field and the length vector are tangential to each other according to the previous knowledge. When a current is passing like this through the wire, magnetic field is directed like this. Yes or no? Therefore, what I can say? This B bar and DL bar will be parallel to each other at every point. Therefore, I can write like this: closed line integral of B into DL into cos 0 is equal to mu naught into I inside is nothing but I of t, or simply I will take it as I here. Now from this, B in strength, it is strength wise the magnetic field is same throughout the perimeter. Therefore, B is constant, write it outside. Close the line integral of DL into cos 0 is 1. Therefore, I can take it as 1, that is equal to mu naught into I. So from this formula, what I will be having? B into, what is the closed line integral of this circle? Closed line integral of this circle is nothing but what? The perimeter of this loop. The perimeter of that loop is nothing but what? 2 pi r. Therefore, B into 2 pi r, B into 2 pi r is equal to mu naught into I. So from this, what is the magnetic field at that point? Mu naught I divided by 2 pi r. This is the magnetic field as calculated using the Ampere's law like this. Is it clear or not? So I have calculated the magnetic field outside the capacitor at this point P and I got the value as B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi r. Yes or no? Here, what is the direction of magnetic field here means when current is passing like this, according to the curl rule or thumb rule, the magnetic field will be encircling the wire in this way. So tangentially along this loop it is there, magnetic field is there like this. Now, this is the answer what I got. Now I am going to calculate the magnetic field for the same kind of loop but with a small change. What is the change that I am going to do here? Let me choose with the same perimeter, loop perimeter is same, but I will be considering a different kind of surface and that surface is like this pot shape. I am considering a pot shape surface in this way. So the perimeter remaining the same, but now what I am doing means I am considering a different kind of surface which is representing like a pot. Now this is a pot surface we are having. In this case, I want to apply the same Ampere's law and I want to calculate the magnetic field. Now by this one, what I am going to get? Case 2. When the surface is, when the surface is pot shape or a Tiffin box shape or Tiffin box shape. So either you can take a pot kind of shape, or else you can also choose a Tiffin box shape. Tiffin box shape means it will be like this. This is one plate of the capacitor, this is another plate of the capacitor. These are the conducting wires. So this is the Amperian loop what I have chosen, whose radius is equal to R. But when it is taken as a Tiffin box shape, it will be like this. It will be like this. The Tiffin box shape can be taken like this. Now, over this one, the area I can take it to be, so let me choose this area is equal to A, which is in between the capacitor plates. A is the area I am choosing. Here I current is coming. Does this I current is passing through this surface area A? No. You can see the current only from here to here. From here to here, do you have any kind of current? There is no current. Similarly, here also you can expect a current from here to here, but can you expect the current in this region? In this region, there is no current. Therefore, what is our expectation? What is the current inside this this kind of shape, or this kind of pot shape, or the Tiffin box shape? What is the current inside? The current inside will be 0. Therefore, if I am using the Ampere's law, what I am going to get? According to Ampere's law, the closed line integral of magnetic field is equal to mu naught into current inside. And here pictorially we can notice that there is no current passing through this pot shape or the Tiffin box shape, because there is no current in between these two plates. You can't see any kind of current. Therefore, the current here will be 0. Then I can say that closed integral of B bar dot dl bar is equal to 0. This implies I am getting B is equal to 0. Why? Because the line integral, length integral cannot be 0. Therefore, magnetic field must and should be 0. So, in one way, if I use, I am getting the answer mu naught I divided by 2 pi r. By taking another kind of surface, I am getting the answer 0. So, when I have taken only this circular loop, I got the magnetic field at this point as how much? I got the magnetic field at this point as mu naught I divided by 2 pi r. But when I have chosen the shape of the surface as pot shape or the Tiffin box shape, in this case, what is the answer I got for the magnetic field? I got the answer B is equal to 0. Is it possible to have 0 magnetic field and as well as mu naught I divided by 2 pi r? That means a 0 and non-zero magnetic field, can it exist at a given point? No, it is not possible. That means there is something missing in this case. What is that something missing is the question. And that something which is missing is explained by Maxwell. So, a careful observation says that something is missing in the Ampere's law, and what is missing in this Ampere's law is corrected by Maxwell, and finally the law is named as Maxwell's Ampere's law or Maxwell's corrected law, we can also say. Then what is that correction he has done? A careful observation says that, so here we can't see anything, but if you see here, in between the capacitor plates, what is there? An electric field is there. So, an electric field is passing in between the plates. That means, what is passing through this area of the plates? Electric field is passing, yes or no? Now, from Gauss theorem, what I can say? Now, look here. Here, as the current is variable current, the electric field in between the capacitor plate is what kind of electric field I told you? A variable kind of electric field or time varying electric field. Current being time varying, the electric field is also a time varying kind of electric field. This time varying electric field is doing something work. What kind of work it is doing, we will see here. From Gauss theorem, what I know, the electric flux through the surface is given by the formula E into A is equal to what? The electric flux E into A we want to calculate. The electric flux is equal to E into A. or E bar dot A bar more clearly. Here E bar and A bar will be in the same direction. E bar is like this, area vector is also like this. Therefore, the directions will be same, hence the angle I will be taking it as 0. Therefore, flux phi E is equal to E into A I can take. But what is E stands for? E stands for electric field intensity. What is the electric field intensity means? I can calculate the electric field intensity by knowing the charge. Suppose Q is the charge on the plate at some instant of time. Then the electric field is given by the formula Q divided by epsilon naught into A. This is the electric field intensity what we calculated in the electrostatics part. The electric field intensity in between the capacitor plates is given by the formula E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught, where sigma stands for surface charge density, which can be written as Q by A divided by epsilon naught, which implies E is equal to Q by epsilon naught A. So, what is the formula in order to calculate the electric field intensity between the capacitor plates? Q divided by epsilon naught A. So, flux is equal to E into A. E is nothing but Q by epsilon naught into A, and here A is nothing but A, area. And if you see here, this electric flux phi E is equal to this A and this A will go off, and you will be having Q divided by epsilon naught. Yes or no? Bring this epsilon naught to this side or leave it as it is. Differentiate this term with respect to time. What I am going to get? This implies d phi E divided by dt is equal to d by dt of Q by epsilon naught. So, this implies rate of change of electric flux is equal to what? Here epsilon naught being constant, I can write the constant outside. Therefore, 1 by epsilon naught into dq by dt. And our previous study says that the rate of flow of charge is nothing but what? Electric current. Yes or no? Therefore, I can write it as, first bring this to this side. Then epsilon naught into d phi E divided by dt is equal to dq divided by dt. This implies dq by dt is equal to epsilon naught into d phi E divided by dt. But by definition of current, dq by dt is nothing but what? Current I. Yes or no? The rate of flow of charge is nothing but current. But can you see any physical current here? We can't see any kind of physical current, because for the physical current to pass, there must be some conducting medium should be there. But here we are having some virtual current, and that virtual current, if you see, that virtual current is happening because of the change in the electric flux in between the capacitor plates. Yes or no? And this current is happening because of the electrical displacement, hence the name the displacement current. So, as this current is happening because of the electric displacement, Maxwell called this current as the displacement current. Is it clear or not? And this is represented by displacement current I suffix d. I refers to current and I suffix d refers to displacement current. So, I suffix d is equal to epsilon naught into d phi E divided by dt. Is it clear? So, this is the formula which is very important for the board part of examination and competitive part of examination. And in board examination, they will ask you to write the formula for displacement current for 2 marks and explain the terms present in it. This is important for your JEE as well as NEET examination. This is an important formula, the displacement current formula. What is the formula for displacement current? Displacement current is equal to epsilon naught into rate of change of electric flux, not magnetic flux. Here E refers to, phi refers to flux, E refers to electric case. Therefore, d phi E refers to the electric flux. So, d by dt of phi E is read as rate of change of electric flux. So, displacement current is equal to epsilon naught times the rate of change of electric flux. Is it clear? Now, whenever the electrical flux is changing, then we are having a displacement current. So, physically we can't see any current here, but we can see a virtual current, that is the displacement current, which is happening because of the electrical displacement. Understood? Now, in addition to this, in this Ampere circuit law, what is that missing term in the current formula is the displacement current is a missing term. Therefore, Ampere's law is corrected by Maxwell like this. this I is to be replaced with I total, where that I total includes the conduction current IC plus the displacement current ID. Therefore, finally what I can say, look here once, the finally Maxwell's corrected formula is written like this, or Maxwell Ampere's formula is written like this. Closed line integral of magnetic field is equal to mu naught times I total. What is this total current means? Here in this wire we are having the conduction current, and in between the plates we are having the displacement current. So what is the total current means? Mu naught into IC conduction current plus ID displacement current, and hence I can write it as mu naught into IC plus mu naught into ID. But I got the formula for ID, therefore I can write it like this: mu naught into IC plus mu naught into ID is nothing but what? Epsilon naught into d phi E divided by dt. So this is nothing but closed line integral of magnetic field. So the Ampere formula is corrected like this. This is the Maxwell's fourth electrodynamic equations. So what we have understood? We have understood the displacement current and the formula for displacement current. Why the displacement current arises? The displacement current is arising because of the variable kind of electric field. A time varying electric field is producing what now? Finally, a time varying electric field is producing what? A displacement current, and that displacement current is responsible for producing the magnetic field. Or else I can say that a time varying electric field is producing the magnetic field, which is a time varying type, and in turn a time varying magnetic field is also producing the time varying kind of electric field. So finally the conclusion of this is, the final conclusion of this electromagnetic theory is, a time varying electric field is responsible for time varying magnetic field, and in turn the time varying magnetic field is responsible for time varying electric field. Is it clear or not? This is about the electromagnetic wave theory and the displacement current. What is the formula for displacement current? Displacement current is given by the formula ID is equal to epsilon naught into d phi E by dt. And what is meant by displacement current? The current that is developed because of the electric displacement, or the current that is developed because of the variable kind of electric field is said to be the displacement current. And in some situations we will be having only a conduction current, and in some other situation we are having only the displacement current. But in most of the situations we will be having both the displacement current as well as the conduction current. For example, if we are calculating here, we are having only the conduction current, and if you want to consider here, the displacement current is responsible for the magnetic field here, and here the magnetic field is because of the conduction current. Is it clear? So, and in most of the situations across the space, in most of the space we will be having both conduction current as well as the displacement current, and they are responsible for the production of the magnetic field. Is it clear? So finally, what is the source of magnetic field? Not only the conduction current, but there is another source of magnetic field, and that is nothing but the displacement current, or the time varying electric field is responsible for the production of what? Magnetic field. So time varying electric field is producing the magnetic field, and the time varying magnetic field is producing the electric field. Both are vice versa. So varying kind of electric field can produce magnetic field, and a varying kind of magnetic field can produce the electric field. This is about the electromagnetic waves and the displacement current. And next we will be studying about the source for this electromagnetic wave. Okay. So here we will see how this electric field and magnetic field will be directed. If I consider the capacitor plates, these are the capacitor plates we know, and here when a variable kind of current is passing through this one, a variable kind of electric field is there in between the capacitor plates directed from positive plate to the negative plate. Yes or no? So this being the positive plate and this being the negative plate, electric field is directed like this. Okay. Now what is the direction of magnetic field? It's very simple. Using the right hand clasp rule, I can say that magnetic field is like this. That means it is in this way. It is like this. It is coming like this and going like this, coming like this and going like this. So at this point, the magnetic field is directed outward like this, outward in this way. So I can draw it in this way. If it is the perimeter of that loop which is considered, okay, that I will show you here. Suppose electric field is directed into the board. Electric field is directed into the board. Then what is the direction of magnetic field? So this is the representation for electric field which is directed into the board. That means I am taking the two plates are there, take this plate like this, negative plate is like this and positive plate is here. Then the field is from positive plate to the negative plate, inward. So here, this is positive plate and current is coming like this. Current is coming like this means if current flows in this way, what is the direction of magnetic field? Like this. So therefore, the direction of magnetic field will be it is along the tangent to this circle. Along the tangent to this circle, therefore, this is the direction for magnetic field. So this is the representation for direction of magnetic field. So electric field is into and magnetic field is like this. How these two are? Here and if you consider at this point, electric field is into, magnetic field is like this. They are perpendicular. Here also electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular. Here also electric field is into and magnetic field is like this. They are perpendicular. So that means at every point on this circle, the electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. So finally what I can say is, in this case, electric field as well as the magnetic field, they will be perpendicular to each other. Understood this point clearly? So when a current is passing through the capacitor, then what is going to happen? Electric field is generated as well as a magnetic field is also generated. But this electric field as well as the magnetic field are mutually perpendicular to each other, or they are perpendicular to one another, I can say. Now, first I will write all those 4 equations once again. What are those 4 equations? Maxwell's 4 equations I will write. They will ask an examination to write the Maxwell's equations. So, 2 equations are related with Gauss theorem, one with Faraday law of induction and another with the Maxwell's Ampere's law. So I am rewriting all those 4 formulae once again here. First one is Gauss theorem in electrostatics says that closure surface integral of E bar is equal to Q inside divided by epsilon naught. Closure surface integral of magnetic field is equal to 0. This is the Gauss theorem in magnetism. This is Maxwell's first equation. This is Maxwell's second equation. Third equation, closure line integral of electric field is equal to rate of change of magnetic flux. This is called Faraday's law of induction. And the last equation or the Maxwell's corrected equation is closure line integral of magnetic field is equal to mu naught into IC plus ID, where IC stands for the conduction current and ID stands for the displacement current, where that ID is equal to what? Where the displacement current ID is equal to epsilon naught into rate of change of electric flux d phi E by dt. This is the formula for what? Displacement current. These are the 4 electromagnetic equations which are helpful in understanding the electromagnetic wave theory. And now we will be studying about what are electromagnetic waves we have studied, and now we have to study about the source of electromagnetic waves. What is the source for electromagnetic waves? A wave is nothing but what? A disturbance, what we study in the first year part. A disturbance produced in the medium, it is propagated in the forward direction, or when it is propagating, the propagation of that wave pattern we will be calling it as what? The wave propagation or wave motion we will be calling. But here these electromagnetic waves are a special kind of waves which are different from the waves what we study in the first year part. That means mechanical waves. So we know that waves are different types. Based on different parameters we can classify them into different categories. In the 19th century or in the beginning of 19th century, they are not aware about the non-mechanical waves. That means they are not knowing about the electromagnetic waves, because that electromagnetic wave theory was not proposed by Maxwell. Therefore, they are not aware about the electromagnetic waves. No electromagnetic wave is discovered at that time. But right now we know about the electromagnetic waves. The electromagnetic wave is consisting of the light waves, X-rays, UV rays, gamma rays, radio waves. All these waves are present in the electromagnetic spectrum. But in the beginning of 19th century, they are not knowing about these electromagnetic waves, and they doesn't know that these waves can travel even through vacuum. So they are aware about what kind of waves. They are aware about only about the mechanical waves. That means the waves which require the material medium for their propagation. So in the 19th century, in the beginning of 19th century, we can say that any wave which are known to the scientists are depending upon the medium. That means if there is no medium, there is no chance for them to propagate. This is the idea they are having. So when this electromagnetic wave theory was proposed, before this Huygens wave theory was proposed. So Huygens also did one mistake. At that time, the electromagnetic wave theory is not there, therefore they are not aware about the non-mechanical waves. Therefore, definitely they are thinking that waves require material medium. Therefore, Huygens thought that light is a mechanical wave. If light is a mechanical wave, then light, for the propagation of light also, there must be a requirement of some medium. Yes or no? Any mechanical wave will require the material medium for its propagation. Therefore, Huygens thought that there is a medium called ether which is pervading the whole universe. There is a medium which is pervading the whole universe, and that name of that medium is nothing but ether medium. This was proposed by Christian Huygens while he is explaining the Huygens wave theory of light. But this ether medium was completely, it is a wrong thing, because these electromagnetic waves are traveling even in vacuum. That means they doesn't require the material medium for their propagation. So what this ether medium was put forward by whom? By Huygens. This ether medium was put forward. And there is at that time, even the importance were given for the existence of ether medium, because a famous novel writer named as Arthur Conan Doyle. Arthur Conan Doyle, who is the creator of Sherlock Holmes detective novel. He has given some novel. In that novel, he has named as a Poisson's belt. Poisson belt he proposed. According to that Poisson belt, also there is a medium called ether which is pervading. There is a medium. He has not named that medium as ether, but there is a Poisson belt which is there around the world, and through that Poisson belt only the waves are propagating. So the ether medium existence was proved by Michelson and Morley in the year 1887. That means in the beginning of the 19th century, Michelson and Morley, when they are trying to calculate the speed of light, they considered that there is a medium called ether, and they conducted the experiment. Finally, they got the wrong result. That means they have not got the expected result. They have got the result which is other than the expected one. Michelson and Morley, when they are conducted some experiment, Michelson, Morley, rotating mirror experiment we will be calling it. From that experimental result, we came to know that there is no medium called ether. That means there are waves does not require material medium for their propagation. And then onwards, they came to know that there are some waves which does not require material medium for their propagation, and there are certain other waves which require material medium for their propagation. Then we have a classification like mechanical waves and non-mechanical waves. Before 19th century, the scientists are knowing only about the mechanical waves. They doesn't know about the non-mechanical waves. Even though light is there, they thought that light is also propagating through a medium, and they proposed that there is an existence of medium, and they named the medium as ether medium. But after 1887 Michelson-Morley experiment, which has given an unexpected result by considering the ether medium, we came to know that there is no medium called ether. If ether is there, they would have got some other expected result, but they didn't got the expected result. Though this experiment is a failure experiment, but this is the basis for understanding of the modern physics. And this experiment concluded that there is no medium called ether, or there is no medium in the space. Around the earth there is a medium. Up to a certain height only atmosphere is present. The earth is covered by an envelope of atmosphere. But after going to the higher altitudes, it is completely vacuum. Even through vacuum also, light is propagating. Sunlight is coming from sun to the earth by traveling through the vacuum. So, which does not require the material medium. So, this has given to the classification of waves as mechanical waves and non-mechanical waves. What are mechanical waves? Means a wave which require a material medium for its propagation is called as mechanical wave, and a wave which does not require material medium for its propagation is called as non-mechanical waves. And these Maxwell's electromagnetic waves will come under the non-mechanical wave category. So, Maxwell's electromagnetic wave is which wave? Non-mechanical wave. It is not a mechanical wave. These electromagnetic waves can travel even through vacuum, but sound waves cannot travel through vacuum. Sound waves in gaseous medium or sound waves in air medium are which waves? They are the longitudinal mechanical waves, and they propagate in the form of compressions and rarefactions, But sound waves in the strings or in the musical instruments, or when the sound waves are traveling through the solid material, we can expect even the transverse mechanical wave. Sound waves are not completely longitudinal waves. Sound waves are longitudinal only in the air medium or in the gaseous medium. But sound waves in the solid medium will be both transverse as well as the longitudinal waves. Okay. So, for the JEE level examination, this is an important question. Sound waves are which waves? Option A, they are always longitudinal. Option B, they are always transverse. Option C, they may be longitudinal as well as transverse. Option D, none of these. Which is the right answer? Means we can have longitudinal sound waves, even we can have the transverse sound waves. In solids, we will be having both longitudinal and transverse sound waves, but in gaseous medium, sound waves are always longitudinal. Be cautious about this one. Okay. So, finally, Maxwell's electromagnetic waves are which kind of waves? Are they mechanical waves or non-mechanical waves? They come under non-mechanical wave category. Why? Because they does not require the material medium for their propagation. Then what is the source of this electromagnetic wave? So, we know that if there is a charge, that charge can produce the dash kind of field. A charge can produce, or a charge at rest can produce only the electric field. But when a charge is under uniform motion, it can produce magnetic field also along with the electric field production. So, charges at rest are producing what? Charges at rest. At rest produces only electric field. Only electric field. Now, charges under uniform motion, if I choose, uniform motion produces both electric and magnetic fields. Both electric and magnetic fields. Yes or no? So, charges are at rest are producing electric field, charges under uniform motion are producing electric field and magnetic field. Are they responsible for the electromagnetic waves? No, they cannot produce the electromagnetic waves. But according to Maxwell theory, it was concluded that when a charge is under accelerated motion, then they are able to produce the electromagnetic waves. The charges under accelerated motion are producing the electromagnetic waves. The derivation is not there in our books. It is out of scope of our PU level. So, in the higher studies, we will be studying how the accelerated charges are responsible for producing the electromagnetic waves. But the final conclusion of this electromagnetic theory only we are studying. So, from that conclusions, we can say that an accelerated charge can produce electromagnetic wave. So, what is the source for electromagnetic wave? Means accelerated charge. Does a charge at rest produces electromagnetic wave? Answer is no. It can produce only electric field. So, does a charge under uniform motion produces electromagnetic wave? No. A charge under uniform motion produces electric field as well as magnetic field, but it cannot generate the electromagnetic wave. But when a charge is under accelerated motion, charge under accelerated motion produces electric field, magnetic field, and generates electromagnetic wave So finally, what is the answer for the source of electromagnetic waves? The source of electromagnetic wave is nothing but an accelerated charge. Accelerated charge means nothing but a simple example if you want to consider oscillating kind of charges. Oscillating charges are nothing but the accelerated charges. These oscillating charges will produce the electromagnetic wave. Understood this point clearly? Now, if they are producing the electromagnetic wave, so what kind of the electromagnetic wave will be generated? Suppose if this is a charge which is moving up and down, if the charge is moving up and down, in what way the electromagnetic wave will be generated? If the charge is moving up and down, can you have a electromagnetic wave along this line? No, we never have. We always have an electromagnetic wave perpendicular to the direction of oscillation. So that means if the charge is moving up and down, you can have an electromagnetic wave like this, like this, like this, like this. Always perpendicular to the oscillation only electromagnetic wave will be generated. Is it clear or not? So if it is oscillating up and down like this, you can have electromagnetic wave in this direction, like this, like this, like this, like this. In all the directions we will be having, but all those directions must be perpendicular to the oscillating charged particle. So why this accelerated charged particle is responsible for electromagnetic wave is not there in our textbook. So we have to understand, that means we have to study only at the higher levels. But final conclusion of this is Maxwell proposed that accelerated charges are responsible for the electromagnetic waves, and these accelerated charges, when they are producing the electromagnetic waves, what they are carrying along with them is the question. So we know that when a wave is propagating from one place to another place, what the wave is taking along with it? A wave is carrying some information along with it, yes or no? When a wave is propagating through it, generally a wave will carry the energy as well as the momentum along with it. So in the similar way, an electromagnetic wave will also carry the energy and momentum along with it. That's why the energy and momentum can be transported from one place to another place, either by means of particles or by means of waves, what we studied in the first year part. So if I want to transport energy and momentum from one place to another place, then I can involve either the particle motion or the wave motion. Suppose if I throw a piece of chalk like this, this piece of chalk, when it is moving, because of its mass and because of its velocity, it will have the momentum, and also due to its motion, it is having the kinetic energy. So this piece of chalk, when it is thrown, due to its motion, it is having kinetic energy as well as the momentum. So momentum and kinetic energy can be transported from this place to that place by the piece of chalk, that means by means of particle. Similarly, when I am speaking, so my sound waves, the sound waves produced by me are coming from me to you, yes or no? So when these waves are coming from me to you, they are causing some kind of disturbance, and because of the disturbance, we are able to hear some noise, that may be a musical kind of noise or a disturbance, whatever it may be. But you are hearing something means that something is heard because of the transport of energy and momentum by the sound waves. Suppose if you consider the electromagnetic waves. Now, the electromagnetic waves are carrying information from where to where, from the point of production to the point where they are propagating. For example, if I consider the sun is a source of electromagnetic radiation, which is consisting of number of wavelengths. That means in that electromagnetic wave generated by the sun, we are having the visible light, X-rays, gamma rays, infrared radiation, radio waves, all kind of rays are there. So if I consider an electromagnetic wave coming from the sun and analyze that electromagnetic wave coming from the sun, then we will be getting the information about the sun. So we know that the sun's composition of what? Sun's composition is nothing but mainly hydrogen and helium. How we know that sun's atmosphere is consisting of hydrogen and helium as the major components? Have we gone from here to sun, or someone has come from sun to the earth? The only thing that is coming from sun to earth is the electromagnetic wave. By analyzing the visible spectrum of this electromagnetic radiation, we are able to identify the elements present on the sun's atmosphere, that is hydrogen and helium. So helium is the element which was first identified on the sun's atmosphere before it was identified on the earth's atmosphere. So that happened because of what? By analyzing the electromagnetic spectrum of the sun. So these radiations coming, or the electromagnetic waves coming from the sun to the earth, is carrying some energy and momentum with it, or else it is carrying some information from there to here. And one more thing is, can we travel in past? That means we are having this pictures, that means time machine picture is there, where we can go to the future and we can go to the past. So here we will discuss about the past cases. So you are observing the sun with the help of a telescope, let us consider. A huge telescope, we are observing the sun. And at this instant, you have noticed that an explosion has been taken place on the sun's atmosphere. What does it mean? Does the explosion has taken really at this time, or it has happened some time before, or in the next coming time the sun explosion is going to take place? What is the right answer? So I am repeating, you are noticing a sun with the help of a telescope, a huge telescope, you are observing the sun. And you notice an explosion on the sun atmosphere right now. So what it says, does it happen at this time, or is it happen a previous time, or it will happen in the future? So the answer for this question is, it has happened in the past. That means how much time before it happened. For something to come, you are saying the explosion on the sun means someone has carried that information from sun to here. Who has carried that information? An electromagnetic wave. And that electromagnetic wave, to travel from the sun to the earth, it will take some around 8 minutes. That means what you have seen now has happened 8 minutes before. So it is a past. So we are learning about the past, we are not learning about the present. We are in present, but we are viewing the past. Is it clear? In the similar way, if sun is the nearest star for us, like that in the universe we are having so many stars which are some 100 years light years away from us. 100 light years away from us, or more than that. Suppose you have received a radiation which has traveled 100 light years, and you are analyzing, and when you are analyzing you came to know that an explosion happened on that particular star. What it says? Does that explosion happen now? No. That explosion has happened some 100 years long before. Is it clear or not? That was happened not now, 100 light years before only it was happened. So likewise, what we can say means, so we can see the past, we can go to the past with the help of electromagnetic waves. Is it clear or not? So the electromagnetic waves are what? They are the waves which does not require the material medium for their propagation, and the electromagnetic waves, how they are generated means they are generated with the help of accelerated charges. The accelerated charges or oscillating kind of charges are responsible for the production of electromagnetic waves. This is only a theoretical concept. This entire theory was developed mathematically by Maxwell. But the experimental evidence for this electromagnetic wave theory was given by Hertz. Hertz is the name of the scientist. Heinrich Hertz is the one who has given the importance or whose experimental facts will give the support for this Maxwell's electromagnetic wave theory. In the year 1885, Heinrich Hertz has generated the electromagnetic radiation in the lab. But he has generated the electromagnetic radiation of shorter wavelengths, but not of a longer wavelength. But Hertz has generated the electromagnetic radiation of shorter wavelength. Shorter wavelength. Shorter wavelength means, longer wavelength, not the shorter wavelength, longer wavelengths. Longer wavelength means shorter frequency. He has generated the electromagnetic wave in the lab, and that has given the support for this Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. Not only Hertz, 7 years after Hertz experiment, 7 years later after Hertz experiment, in India also, J.C. Bose, Jagadish Chandra Bose, is the one who lived in Kolkata and has J.C. Bose is the one who has generated the electromagnetic waves much shorter than these longer waves, ranging from 25 millimeter to 5 millimeter. The electromagnetic radiation whose wavelengths are shorter than the wavelengths generated by Hertz, that is ranging from 25 millimeter to 5 millimeter, was experimentally generated by Jagadish Chandra Bose in Kolkata. In India, he is the one who has generated the electromagnetic waves experimentally. And almost at the same time, though Hertz and J.C. Bose has produced the electromagnetic radiation experimentally, they are not succeeded in transporting the electromagnetic radiation from one place to the another place. And almost at the same time of J.C. Bose, a scientist named Marconi, who has invented the radio. Marconi from Italy. He is the one who has generated the electromagnetic waves and propagated those electromagnetic waves over thousands of kilometers or many kilometer distance. He has successfully transported that electromagnetic radiation, and this revolutionary experiment is responsible for the communication system what we are seeing right now, or the communication what we are witnessing today is because of the Marconi's first step towards the transportation of electromagnetic waves over long distances. And Marconi is the one who has invented the radio, and in this kind of device, the electromagnetic wave will carry the information over thousands of kilometers. Is it clear or not? So Hertz is the one who has first generated the electromagnetic radiation in the laboratory, and 7 years later J.C. Bose from India has generated even much shorter wavelengths ranging from 25 millimeter to 5 millimeter range electromagnetic radiation were generated. Marconi at the same time from Italy has generated the electromagnetic radiation and use it for transporting the information from one place to the another place, which is of thousands of kilometer distance or many kilometer distance, we can say. This is how these experimental observations has given importance for this Maxwell's wave theory. Understood these points clearly? Okay. Coming to the generation of electromagnetic waves experimentally, it is a little bit difficult task. Why it is a little bit difficult task, we will discuss here. I told you that according to Maxwell, whenever there is an accelerated charge, it is responsible for production of electromagnetic waves. So one such example, if I want to consider, I can take an oscillated charge, which is an example for the accelerated charge. Let us consider this an accelerated charge or oscillating charge. Because of this oscillating charge, let us consider this oscillator is oscillating with a frequency of nu. The oscillator or the charge is oscillating with a frequency of nu. Then it will generate an electromagnetic radiation. If it is oscillating up and down, it is generating electromagnetic wave perpendicular to the direction of oscillation. Let me choose this is an electromagnetic wave. If it is an electromagnetic wave, the oscillating charge is producing the time varying electric field, which in turn produces the time varying magnetic field, and that time varying magnetic field again it will produce the time varying electric field, and so on. And it is self-sustained. So the time varying electric field is producing the time varying magnetic field in space, and in turn this time varying magnetic field is producing the time varying electric field, and it is a self-sustained process, and that self-sustained process is responsible for the propagation of electromagnetic wave in the vacuum. Now it is not requiring any kind of material medium for its propagation. As I told you, when a wave is traveling, it will carry two things along with it. One is momentum, which is represented with the letter P, and the energy, which is represented with the letter U, or I can also take E for energy. Energy, U or E. Okay. Now this electromagnetic wave is propagating, and the frequency of this electromagnetic wave is nothing but the frequency of the oscillator. Therefore, it is nu. So if I want to generate an electromagnetic wave of frequency nu, then what is my requirement? My requirement is I have to choose an oscillator, or I have to choose a oscillating charge whose frequency is nu. Then if it is that much simple, why we are unable to produce the electromagnetic waves? Means, if you consider the visible light will have a frequency of the order of, suppose if you consider in the visible light, if I consider an yellow color light, the frequency of yellow color light will be, it is of the order of 6 into 10 to the power of 14 hertz. 6 into 10 power 14 hertz. So what is the order means? 14 will be the 10 power 14 will be the frequency order for the visible light. If it is so, then if I want to produce yellow color light, then what is the frequency of that oscillating charge? The frequency of that oscillating charge must be equal to 6 into 10 power 14 hertz. For this piece of, if I treat this piece of chalk as a charge, if I move up and down, more than 1 second is passed over. Suppose what is frequency means? Number of oscillations per unit time. That means if I am in 1 second, if I move it 2, I can say its frequency is 2. If I move it thrice, I can say its frequency is 3. If I move it 100, I can say its frequency is 10 square hertz or 100 hertz. Yes or no? Suppose if I am able to oscillate a charge of around 10 power 14 times in 1 second, then I will have a visible light. But is it possible practically? Practically, it is not possible to oscillate a charged particle of around 10 power 14 times in 1 second. Practically, even though we are using the modern type of electronic as well as the electrical circuits, AC kind of circuits, if you are using also, the oscillating charges cannot have a frequency more than 10 to the power of 11 hertz. So the maximum frequency of the electrical oscillator at present we are having is around only 10 power 11 hertz. That's why, but visible light is having a frequency of around 10 power 14 hertz. That's why it is not possible to produce the visible light of the electromagnetic spectrum using the ordinary oscillators. The highest frequency of oscillation of the charged particle that we can achieve with the modern equipment is around 10 power 11 hertz only. That's why in the beginning, experimentally for getting the electromagnetic radiation, it is a difficult task. Even then, for the low frequency range, that means around 10 power 6 hertz, radio waves, if you consider, the radio waves will have a frequencies of around, radio waves frequency will be around 10 power 6 hertz. So, using the experimental setup, we are able to produce an oscillator which can oscillate at around a frequency of 10 power 6 hertz, and hertz as well as the Marconi and J.C. Bose were succeeded in producing the radio waves experimentally. Regarding the electromagnetic theory, in the electromagnetic theory we are having so many waves are there. So we are having visible light, UV radiations, gamma rays, X-rays, infrared rays, microwaves and radio waves. These are the different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. But regarding electromagnetic waves, the first wave that was discovered in the electromagnetic spectrum is visible light. Later we have the experimental improvements has given support for the infrared radiations as well as the UV radiations, and with the much development we got the X-rays, gamma rays, all these things we are able to study right now. But in the beginning of the electromagnetic wave theory, we have known only about the visible light as well as the radio waves, all these things. Is that clear? Now, coming to this electromagnetic wave, what is its nature? It is an non-mechanical wave. It is produced by whom? It is produced by the accelerated charged particles. I am writing those points. EM waves are produced by accelerating charges or oscillating charges, I can say. Second thing, EM waves are non-mechanical waves. EM waves are non-mechanical waves. Non-mechanical in the sense they does not require material medium for their propagation. Non-mechanical waves. That means there is even though medium is not present, these waves can propagate. Third one is the electromagnetic waves can travel with a speed equal to the speed of light. EM waves travel with a speed equal to, with speed equal to, with speeds equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. The light wave, we know that light can travel at the speed equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. Not only the visible light, every part of electromagnetic spectrum, either the gamma rays, X-rays, UV rays, infrared rays, microwaves, radio waves, whatever may be the electromagnetic wave, all electromagnetic waves will travel with a speed equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second, which was experimentally obtained. The speed of light is obtained to be 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second experimentally. Even using the Maxwell's electromagnetic wave theory, theoretically also the speed of electromagnetic wave is calculated to be almost equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. Most clearly it is 2.99792,458 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second, which is approximated as 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. So the speed of electromagnetic wave in air or vacuum is given to be this much, and this was calculated theoretically using the formula, the speed of electromagnetic wave C is equal to 1 by square root of mu naught into epsilon naught. This is the speed of electromagnetic wave in air or vacuum, where mu naught refers to the permeability of free space and epsilon naught refers to the permittivity of free space. So permittivity and permeability are revealing about the electrical nature and magnetic nature of the mediums. Yes or no? So we know that when light is traveling through an air medium or vacuum, all colors will travel with the same speed. But when the light is traveling in any other medium other than air or vacuum, then the speed is going to be affected. Yes or no? So if the light is traveling in glass and it is also traveling in water, so light can travel through glass and even light can also travel through water. But is the speed of light is same in glass and water? The answer is no, because the electrical and magnetic character of water is different from electrical and magnetic character of glass. That's why the speed of light is controlled by the electrical and magnetic character of that medium. Hence, the speed of electromagnetic wave in a particular medium is given by, the speed of light in any other medium other than air or vacuum is given by 1 by square root of mu into epsilon. This is the formula to calculate the speed of electromagnetic radiation in any other medium. This is in air or vacuum. This is in air or vacuum. The speed of light is speed of electromagnetic wave is given by this formula. In any other medium, in a medium other than air or vacuum, in a medium other than air or vacuum, the speed of electromagnetic radiation is given by this formula. Is it clear or not? And using this electromagnetic wave theory, we can calculate a parameter called optical density or refractive index. That is going to be learned in the next coming chapter, that is optics part. In optics, we are going to study about the optical density of a given medium. Optical density is otherwise called as refractive index, and it is defined as refractive index N. Refractive index N is equal to C divided by V. So that is equal to what? C by V means this divided by this, that is 1 by square root of mu naught epsilon naught divided by 1 by square root of mu into epsilon. This implies refractive index or optical density is equal to square root of, this will go up and this will come down, therefore this is mu epsilon divided by mu naught epsilon naught, which can be written as mu by mu naught is nothing but relative permeability and epsilon by epsilon naught is nothing but relative permittivity. Therefore, this can be written as refractive index is equal to square root of mu r into epsilon r. So that means using Maxwell's electromagnetic theory, we can calculate the speed of light theoretically, which is in close agreement with the speed of light calculated experimentally. And using this, we can also calculate the speed of light in any other medium, provided the electrical and magnetic character of that medium are known. That means if you know the mu and epsilon value for that medium, we are able to find out the speed of electromagnetic radiation in that medium. And we are also able to find out the refractive index of that particular medium. Knowing these two values, we are able to calculate the refractive index of a given optical medium. using the Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. Is it clear? So, electromagnetic waves are produced by accelerating charges, that means oscillating charges, and the electromagnetic waves are non-mechanical waves, which says that they does not require material medium for their propagation, which says that they can travel even through vacuum, and electromagnetic waves travel with a speed equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. All electromagnetic waves, there is no condition that only light waves or visible light like that. All electromagnetic waves, whether it is radio wave, X-ray, gamma ray, UV ray, or the infrared radiation, whatever it may be, if it is electromagnetic wave, they can travel with the speed equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second in air or vacuum. And the speed of light is calculated theoretically using the formula C is equal to 1 by square root of mu naught epsilon naught in air or vacuum, and is equal to 1 by square root of mu epsilon in a medium. And using these two terms, we are able to calculate the refractive index of that particular given medium using the formula n is equal to square root of mu r into epsilon r. Is it clear or not? This is about some of the points regarding the electromagnetic waves. These electromagnetic waves are carrying what along with them? They can carry the energy as well as the momentum. So, the electromagnetic radiations are carrying what? They are carrying the energy, and as well as they are also carrying the momentum. So, when they are carrying the momentum, when these electromagnetic radiation fall on a particular surface, then what they are going to do? They can exert the pressure on which they are falling. So, that pressure is called as radiation pressure. The electromagnetic radiation, when they fall on a particular surface, they will be producing some pressure that is called as radiation pressure. They will ask in board examination what is meant by radiation pressure. The pressure exerted by the radiation when they fall on a particular surface. The pressure exerted by the radiation when they fall on a particular surface is called as radiation pressure. And the radiation pressure is given by the formula radiation pressure, which is also important for 1 and 2 mark questions. Radiation pressure, very, very, very important. Radiation pressure, we can calculate. What is the radiation pressure definition? The pressure exerted by radiation, the pressure exerted by radiation when they fall on a given surface, is called radiation pressure, And I told you that the electromagnetic radiation are carrying the momentum as well as the energy with them. Suppose an electromagnetic radiation is incident on a particular surface and the surface is completely absorbing that energy. Suppose U is the energy associated with the radiation and it is absorbed by that surface. Then what is the momentum of that radiation? Momentum of that radiation P is given by the formula energy absorbed divided by C. How to get this one? So, from Einstein's equation, energy is given by the formula E is equal to, or here U is equal to mc square. I can rewrite it as U is equal to mc into C. This implies U by C is equal to mc. What is mc? Mass into velocity is nothing but momentum. This is the momentum of radiation. Therefore, P is equal to mc is nothing but momentum of radiation. P is equal to U by C. This is the momentum of the radiation. When a radiation having energy U is falling on a particular surface and it is completely absorbed by that surface, then the momentum associated with that radiation is given by P is equal to U by C. Be cautious, here P is not the pressure, P is the momentum. What is P stands for here? P is a momentum. And the radiation pressure is calculated by the American scientist in the year 1903. In the year 1903, American scientists named as Nichols and Hull. These are the two scientists who has calculated the pressure exerted by the radiation, and the value is calculated to be 7 into 10 to the power of -6 Newton per meter square. The radiation pressure that is exerted by the sunlight falling on the human body is calculated to be 7 into 10 power minus 6 Newton per meter square, and it is calculated by Nichols and Hull, an American scientist. So now suppose according to their observations, suppose sun radiation falls on an area of 10 centimeter square. If sun radiation fall on area of 10 centimeter square, what is the force exerted by that radiation? We know that pressure is equal to force acting per unit area. Yes or no? Therefore, force exerted is equal to pressure into area. So here this sun radiation is exerting a pressure of how much? 7 into 10 power minus 6 as calculated by the American scientists Nichols and Hull. Therefore, the sun radiation is exerting a pressure of how much? 7 into 10 to the power of minus 6 Newton per meter square into area. On how much area it is falling? If the radiation falls on an area of 10 centimeter square, then 10 into centimeter means 10 power minus 2 meter. 1 centimeter is equal to 10 power minus 2 meter. Therefore, centimeter square is equal to 10 power minus 4 meter square. So, substituting here into 10 power of minus 4, what I am going to get? So, this is 10 power minus 6 into 10 power minus 4 is 10 power minus 10 into 10 power 1. Therefore, it is 7 into 10 to the power of minus 9 Newton. As this is 10 power minus 9, this value is very small. That is why when the sun radiation falling on our hand, then generally we will observe that our hand will be becoming warmth, because why the hand when the radiation is falling on our hand, sun radiations are only falling on our hand. After some time we will feel hot, because the radiations are carrying the energy, and that energy is imported for your human body. Therefore, it is warming up our body. The energy is carried and it is given to your body. But why won't you experience the force? Means though the radiation is falling on your hand, they are exerting the pressure, we are not experiencing any kind of force, because that force is having a magnitude of the order of 10 power minus 9 Newton, which is very, very, very small. That is why. So, if you see here, momentum is very small, the speed of light is very large. Speed of light being very large, 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second, the momentum associated with the sun rays is negligible, or the momentum associated with the electromagnetic radiation is negligible, because this denominator value is very large. Therefore, this numerator must be very, very small. So, the momentum of the electromagnetic radiation is very small. That is why we never experience any kind of force exerted by the radiation on the human bodies or any other surfaces. But they will exert some pressure, and that pressure is calculated to be 7 into 10 power minus 6 Newton per meter square. Now, I told you that with the electromagnetic radiation some energy is there, and this electromagnetic radiation is consisting of electrical vector as well as magnetic vector. Now, we will study how to represent an electromagnetic wave and what is the energy that is carried out with the electromagnetic radiation. Okay.